What is up, everybody? Luke Film Boss here, and I want to wish you all a happy new year and welcome back to my channel. As it's been a little while since I've posted, I do have some reviews coming. I'm a little late on them, but that's irrelevant for this video because today I'm going to be ranking the top 10 worst movies of 2025. So I'm going to be ranking these movies in order of best to worst. So we're going to get progressively worse down the list, and then we'll finally figure out what my number one least favorite movie of 2025 was. So with that, let's get into it with number 10, which is Flight Risk with a 51%. This movie baffled me because it's Mel Gibson in the director's chair. And whether Mel Gibson is directing, like with Hacksaw Ridge, Braveheart, The Passion of the Christ, I find those movies incredible. Those three movies are some of my all-time favorite films, as is The Patriot, where he was just an actor in it. I love those movies. Solid 9 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 films for me. Flight Risk is so bad compared to them. Like, it's a bad movie in general, but compared to the movies that Mel Gibson usually makes, I'm like, how does he stoop this low? I still love Mel Gibson as an artist, as an actor, a director. This movie just was not it. This one came back in January, so it's kind of the one that's the least fresh in my mind, but I do remember the plot is like this. I don't remember if she's FBI, but she's like a cop, and she's taking this one dude to a court hearing, and so she's got to get on this plane, and it turns out that the guy flying the plane is actually working for the dude's boss. Like, there's some moving pieces. It's cohesive enough, but there is a little bit of like spotty dialogue. It just makes it like feel like they had a half-baked script and they just decided to shoot. It's nothing to write home about. It's really just them being on a plane. It's an interesting idea if they would have really had the script to make it as intense and interesting, or the characters as likable as they should have been. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was like a mediocre little action suspense film that you would not expect somebody like Mel Gibson to be directing, because it just doesn't feel like a Mel Gibson film. It feels like a C tier at best idea with D tier execution. In ninth place is Anaconda with a 49%. Now, this movie is the one that I most recently watched on this list, and I gotta say, I enjoyed it somewhat. Like, I got some laughs out of it, but in the end of the day, it's just a dumb Jack Black, Paul Rudd movie. Like, there's not much to say about it. It's a kind of like meta humor commentary on Hollywood, which we've gotten a lot of those recently. This one's just another, oh, we're doing a reboot of Anaconda, blah blah blah. Everybody makes the remakes and they just want the money, and then it turns out, oh, we're making the Anaconda movie, and it turns out there's an anaconda, but everybody watching the movie is like, yeah, you're basically making fun of your own movie in the movie. And sure, some of it works. Some of the jokes work. The story works enough. There's some drama in there. Like, okay. At the end of the day, it's like, who really cares? You watch it, you go, ha ha, a few times. Jack Black does his Jack Blackness by being just a silly goofball. And there was enough charisma between the actors and actresses, and a few twists and turns, some not great looking CGI snake, and yeah, this is probably the one on the list that like there's the least to talk about because it's just a generic semi funny comedy. In eighth place is Jurassic World Rebirth with a 49%. Now, why does this movie even have that high of a score? Why is it this high on the list, even if it is the top 10 worst? Because this movie has some decent dinosaur action. That's all I can say. That's the only edge that the Jurassic World or Jurassic Park movies have on other movies that make it such an endearing franchise, is that people like to see dinosaur action, and you can't really get any good dino movies aside from this. With a few exceptions here and there, but this is the franchise to get that. Besides that, the script in this movie is atrocious. The characters are so boring. They're one note. They have no character arc. Even the characters that they're kind of setting up a character arc for just end up, they do nothing with them. They kind of just get forgotten. It's so all over the place. The dialogue, especially in the first third of the movie where they're trying to establish the characters, feels so fake and unauthentic that it's so hard to watch. It's like you're watching, it's like, this is not only boring, I'm sitting here and it's just like, feels like, ugh, who has a conversation like that? This is so awkward. Like, I felt awkward while listening to the conversations of two characters in a movie. Like, how do you feel awkward while watching a generic conversation of two movie characters that aren't even like present with you? And that, like, that's how bad this movie's dialogue was. The characters, once again, they're so boring. They have no real motivations. They have no deep spiritual or psychological or philosophical things that they're dealing with, although the movie pretends that they do, especially with Scarlett Johansson's character. And it's just a bunch of people go onto an island with dinosaurs again. Wow. Like, great idea. People die. They get off the island. Spoiler alert. Some things happen. Yeah, this movie's just not very good. Some cool dinosaur scenes, and that's about it. Number 7 with a 47% is The Monkey. A movie that I can't say I was like super excited for. Now, apparently this is the same director. The guy that directed this is the same guy who did the movie Longlegs, which I watched and I enjoyed more than this movie, but still didn't like think it was anything great. And yeah, The Monkey just was not it. Like, it had like really good reviews when it came out. And I'm like, okay, let's go see this this fresh original horror movie. And you go in and it's like the dumbest, like most drawn out thing that I've seen all year. There's so little that happens and they stretch it out for so long, and then they give you a kind of pointless, unsatisfactory ending where it just kind of does nothing. You see some people die because of this monkey curse thing. It's a convoluted plot that really doesn't have as many twists and turns and surprises as it should, and pretends that it does. And then it just ends with a generic monkey trinket dropping bowling balls on people's heads and stuff like that. Yeah, not a great movie. In 6th place with a 45% is Regretting You. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I actually enjoyed this movie. I think I gave it like a 65%-ish, around there, in enjoyment. And then in quality, I gave it like a 30 or a 20. Because this movie is just, it's so poorly written. The characters are like the silliest little dweebs ever. And it's so fun to watch. The dialogue is so clanky, but in a fun way. And the story is so convoluted, and there's so many different things that just don't work, but yet are just so entertaining to watch. It's hard to explain without like dissecting the plot piece by piece. And it's one of those movies where it's like you're watching it. Even if the story itself works, you're watching it and then the characters will say something and it's just, the delivery is just so hilariously bad that you're like, yeah, it's not a quality film, but yet I can't help but enjoy it. But yeah, it's still ended up on this list because I just couldn't justify it being higher. In 5th place with a 44% is probably the biggest news fest of the year. It's Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere, which the title itself is way too long, and the movie itself is kind of like the title, where it just drags on. It just keeps going, but like you don't feel like you're going anywhere. It's like Deliver Me From Nowhere is what I was thinking when I was watching this movie. I felt like I was nowhere. I was just watching the most slow, boring movie I think that I've seen all year, and that's why it's on this list. the character work just wasn't interesting enough. Like, there's some emotional stuff in there, I guess, but it's like I didn't care because the movie just didn't have a flow to it. It didn't have a vibe. It was just events taking place, and they were so drawn out. And then you have Springsteen's character who's just kind of going through the motions, and like maybe that was what they were going for, I guess, but it just doesn't work. I think I actually did fall asleep in the movie at least once, and I hate when that happens, but I couldn't help myself because the movie literally was putting me to sleep. In fourth place with a 41% is Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And Bosco is one of the most annoying little punks I've ever watched on screen. I just want to grab him and punch him in the face every time he opens his mouth because he's so arrogant and annoying. And besides Bosco being one of the worst characters in probably cinematic history, this movie just has so many other problems. And it mostly all comes down to the characters. Some of the magic stuff, the fun little sequences and shenanigans where it's like kind of screwing with your mind. Some of it was all right. And the plot twists and stuff, it was like, okay, it's not terrible. But once you get to the characters, it's so bad. Now, I'm not going to say the characters, other than Bosco, were unlikable. Most of them were likable, but it was just so dumb how you bring in the legacy characters to sell the tickets, and then you have these newcomers just kind of constantly showing how they're better than the old people by doing the most basic crap, magic tricks, and solving the most basic puzzles that these old magicians, who are like the greatest of all time, should have easily been able to crack, like, first glance. But it's like they're just acting dumb the whole time just so that the younger magicians can show off how good they are and how they're on the same tier as these old magicians, even though it's like the most basic silly crap, like I said. And so this movie just is constantly making the old magicians, the characters we actually like from the previous movies, it's just constantly making them stupid so that the young people can look smart, even though they're not doing anything remotely as clever or fascinating as any of the stuff we saw in the first two films. And the plot is a lot more, basic. It's not as intricate and like really it doesn't click like the other two films. And the other two films weren't great, but at least they were somewhat interesting. This movie is not. And I'm just kind of like disappointed because the writing is so atrociously bad. You can tell this was 100% cash grab material where they bring back the old characters just to sell the tickets while trying to make these new characters the main characters, while also giving them no real character work. That's the other thing, is they try to make these new characters seem like they're important by making them look smarter than the old people. But yet the entire movie, all the good jokes, the good character moments are almost all carried by the original cast. So why even bring in the new characters at all? Why not just make a third movie with the original cast and cut out these new young people? Oh, I'll tell you why. They bring back the old people because they're the ones that everybody's familiar with. So they'll probably most likely sell the tickets. But you bring in the young people on the off chance that you might be able to snag a new younger generation of moviegoers and get them wrapped into the franchise because, oh, look, it's got younger people in it. And so we can cling on to those young characters and feel like, oh, there's a place for us young people. It's like, or you could just make a good movie and stop trying to pander to every generation, to every sex and nationality, and just make a decent movie. How about that? We have made it to the top 3 worst movies of 2025, but before I get into the top 3, I just want to say that there was a few movies this year that came out that I did not see, and among those were some horror movies that I heard were really, really bad. Now, number 1 was The Strangers Part 2, which I watched The Strangers Part 1 last year. It was one of the worst movies of the year, and one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen in my life. And so there's a high chance that The Strangers Part 2, had I watched it, would have ended up very low on this list. And then there was the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. And due to the fact that I've never seen any of the movies in that franchise, I decided to skip out on that one. And then you had the movie Him, which I just heard was a pretty atrociously bad movie. And it looked gross to me. So I decided to skip out on that one. And there's a few others, but basically what I'm saying is this list probably could have been padded with really bad horror movies had I watched them, but I didn't watch them. So if you all watched those movies, please write down in the comments, what did you think? Should they have been on this list or should they have not? Is there any other movies that should be on this list that aren't on the list? Let me know after the video in the comments. And with that, we'll get on to number 3. In third place is Smurfs with a 31%. And this movie isn't even as bad as I thought it would be, which is saying something considering I gave it a 31%. And this is also, I think, the only animated film or any kid movie that I have in this list. And that's because it's really bad. Like, why are we still making Smurf movies in 2025? I haven't seen the live action Smurf movies, which one of them was successful, the other one was not. Then they made Smurfs The Lost Village. They decided to go on to the animated route, and that movie didn't make that much money. And then they made this movie, and guess what? It made even less money. Why are we still making these movies? The original cartoons came back in what? The 60s, the 70s? And we're here 2025 making garbage Smurf material where they're trying to like modernize it. And this movie can't, like, it's animated, but then you go to the real world in a few scenes. It's like confusing. Like, what's the idea behind this? Because Gargamel and his brother in this movie are animated, but they're humans, but there's actual humans. Nothing in this movie makes any sense. First off, the characters are annoying. Like, at first I was like, okay, it's a generic kids movie. You got the is it James Gordon, the late night show host guy. His Smurf character has his little I Want song. He like wants to be a Smurf who does magic, but he's got no special talents and blah blah blah. Generic little baby kid stuff. Oh, I'm not special. Everybody else is special except me. Oh, you're special because you're just you. And yeah. And then you get on and like Smurfette goes through a midlife crisis where she's like, oh, I'm so ashamed of where I came from and blah, even though like she doesn't do anything bad in the movie. So then she just all of a sudden like has this switch where she's like, oh, I feel guilty because I was made by Gargamel, which everybody knew and she knew and blah blah blah. That blah 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 is when I say when the movie sucks, and that's this movie because it's bad and the music doesn't even like work after the first number, after the first I Want song, which wasn't that great. It was just like, okay, the rest of the music I don't even remember half of it. I know that Rihanna's Smurfette has a song to sing in the middle of the movie where it's like they're bouncing with some kangaroos in Australia or something like that. I don't understand why they were in Australia in a kangaroo pouch, but that's something that happened in this movie. And then they bring multiverse stuff into it because that's something the Smurfs needed. We need a Smurf multiverse. Absolutely. It's awesome. The only thing I can say good about this movie is Smurfette kind of cute. Yeah, I definitely am not into blue people. Avatar Fire and Ash definitely did not have some nice looking Navi. And I definitely didn't think the Smurfs were good looking at all. Blue's definitely not my favorite color. Let's get on to the next one. In second place is Five Nights at Freddy's 2 with a 24%. Boiling hot garbage. That's this movie. The first movie was also a pile of steaming trash. This movie is even worse somehow because the ending is so atrociously horrible that it ruined the entire movie. And I don't say that lightly because for the most part, as terrible as the movie was, as silly as it was, as unscary as it was, as annoying and bland as some of the characters were, as completely goofballish the dialogue is, it was at least somewhat fun to watch for the majority of the movie. With a few boring moments, a lot of inconsistencies, continuity errors. Yeah, that's expected in this kind of movie. But what I wasn't expecting is for them to completely end it abruptly. Like, you have some pieces in place, and then all of a sudden you do something really stupid with the characters to try and set up some drama for the next movie, I guess. And it all happens in the span of like 5 minutes. It's like they are fighting the big bad in the finale, which I didn't realize was the finale until it happened like that. I don't want to spoil anything. I will say there were some visual things that I liked about this movie, but not enough to save it. The visuals are nothing without a good script, without a good character. And this movie doesn't have any of that. Abby in this movie is worse than in the first one. She was like a little bit stupid in the first one. She was a child. She's still a child, but she's an older child. And she acts even more stupid in this movie. She makes a lot of dumb choices. And they're not even rational. Or, I mean, like, obviously, there's plenty of good movies where the characters act irrational. But this one's trying to make it sound like, oh, it's because of the emotional connection she had to her Fazbear friends. And so she kind of like does something really dumb, which no normal child would do. I think Abby needs some psychological help. She needs to be put into an institution because the things she does in this movie are so out of the blue, dumb and irresponsible that you can't even defend it, even due to the fact that she's a child. You can't. It's undefensible. She's an idiot, plain as day. But, I mean, with the kind of teachers that this movie portrays as being in the school, it's no wonder that the kids are a bunch of emotional little idiots because their teachers are emotionally abusive, just terrible people. And it was actually kind of fun to watch for a little bit. And then it was kind of like, okay, this is kind of boring. It's kind of fun. It's kind of boring, kind of stupid, kind of dumb. Okay, I was full ready to give this movie like a 5 out of 10 and say it was better than the first one because at least I was able to somewhat enjoy it. Whereas the first one just was like one dumb thing after the other. And it wasn't like the silly, fun kind of dumb. It was the dumb, like, why are these characters so stupidly annoying and terrible and poorly written? This one was also like that, but to a lesser degree, to where the stupid stuff was excusable as funny or silly or fun, not just plain out annoying. Until you get to the last 5 minutes, where you think there's going to be something more, where they're going to have some kind of big moment or a character arc or something. Give me something. There was something you could have done to at least try and make it relatively satisfying. Like the ending could have at least had something. But they literally don't. Like I said, they end it. This movie does not have an ending. It just ends. We have a little argument between our main characters, the girl and the guy, Peter Malarkey, because I don't remember any of the dumb names in this movie. He just gets emotional and says, "You've helped us this entire movie. You've proven to us that you care about us. But I can't trust you because your brother's a bad guy. Your dad was a bad guy. Even though that wasn't an issue at the beginning of the movie. But now, all of a sudden, 5 minutes before ending, I'm going to break ties with you in the most rushed, stupid way possible. And then, with 1 minute to go, something really bad's going to happen. And it's going to just end the movie and set up for the sequel. Oh, everybody's so excited for this now. Wow, we got a terrible movie with a terrible ending. But it's set up for a sequel that we have no idea what's going to happen in the sequel. Because they don't set up anything. So we have no idea what to expect. It's terrible. This is the second film in a supposed trilogy, I would assume. because they keep making money. They keep printing the money, the dollar bills, the dollar bills. I've said enough. I didn't do a review for this movie, which is why this is so long, because it deserved a review, because of how absolutely backcrap bad it was. I rest my case. On to number 1. Can I get a drum roll, please, for the worst movie of 2025? With a 22%, it's Love Hurts. And yeah, love does hurt. But not as much as this hot garbage of a movie. Because Love Hurts is quite possibly the worst conceived movie project, not just of 2025, but ever. It's not the worst movie ever, but it's really, really bad. I think that this movie was literally handcrafted to be, oh, what if we made an action movie for Valentine's Day? And that's how it was marketed. They hyped this thing up as the ultimate Valentine's Day movie. And the movie has nothing to do with anything related to Valentine's Day. Even the love story, which isn't really existent in this movie, has nothing to do with the whole Love Hurts thing. The Love Hurts thing is about the brother and his, like, the brother rivalry. And that's why he says Love Hurts. It has nothing to do with romance. Like, sure, do we have a little romance in here? I guess. I honestly don't remember much about the female love interest. I don't even remember if they get together in the end. This movie, number 1, is forgettable. I remember the movie. I don't remember a single thing important that actually happened. I remember a bunch of random thugs coming and trying to kill the main character. I remember one of the thugs falling in love with his employee. I remember that stuff. I know that he has a brother who tried to kill this one girl that he was supposed to kill this girl for his brother. And then after he didn't do that because he's too nice of a guy for some reason, even though he's a mass murderer, assassin dude, he spares the life of this girl because I guess he must have liked her. I don't even remember if there was a romance there. I think there was, but she's such a poorly non-consequential character that I forget. But anyway, the dude then goes into realty and then he becomes the best house salesman ever. And then his past comes to haunt him. And the lady that he didn't kill comes back and does something. I forget how the evil brother finds the good brother who's now a realtor and sends the thugs to kill him. And then he beats the crap out of them. But he doesn't want to kill anybody anymore. He's a nice guy now. So he puts pillows under their heads because he's such a sweet guy. He knocks them out and makes sure that their head doesn't hit off the floor. And he's very careful with them. He's a very gentle soul. And apparently that was what they were going for. They were going for, what if we made an action movie where the assassin is actually a sensitive little softy who doesn't want to hurt anybody, and then he decides that he's gonna beat the crap out of his brother in the end because love hurts you, brother. And yeah, it's really bad, and that caps off the list. Love Hurts was the worst. Thank you all for watching, guys. I really appreciate if you guys have stayed till the end. I know that the Five Nights at Freddy portion was pretty long. Love Hurts was the worst movie of the year, but there was a little bit less to talk about than Five Nights at Freddy's, and they both were just atrocious. But I had a lot of fun making this video. I love just being able to trash on all of the trash movies that come out in a year, but be on the lookout because I will be coming out with my top 10 best movies of 2025, and then I might have a video just ranking all 90 of the movies that I saw. Not just movies that I saw in 2025, just 90 films that came out in 2025 that I watched. And that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little bit of work, but I just hope y'all enjoy these videos and are on the lookout. So please like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to know what you think the worst movies of 2025 were. And I'll see y'all when we talk about the best movies of 2025. Bye.